welcome everyone. It's wonderful to see you guys. I know this is for Dutch timing, this is dinner time, so I have to compete with food. So, alright, I'm going to try to make it as appetizing as possible, right? So, welcome to our program. We are, in the last few years, business has transformed radically, right? I mean, almost every business you can think of has moved in a very drastic, dramatic ways with the onset of new media. So you have technologies infusing it, and then, businesses are trying to grab and say, okay, is this a game changer? Are we redundant? Are travel agents redundant today? How do we face this? Is this a new kind of relationship with the consumers? So there's a lot of questions, and this program has been created because it's not enough to have a course or two. We need really a focus. It's a very necessary specialization, right? So this is the reason this program exists. And it's just going to become more and more pertinent as we go over the years, right? So what does this program look like? We're looking at, these are sort of buzzwords you hear, but we're going to take it beyond these buzzwords, right? Like social media communication, branding, business models, entrepreneurship. So people, if you're interested in business in general, this is not a business program. It's a business and media program, the relationship between the two that comes together. So you want to be specialists in how media is used by businesses, how businesses are transformed by media, then this is a program for you, right? Because all these actually exist. It's been around for decades. It's not like entrepreneurship has come about now. But if you're interested in saying, okay, but are entrepreneurs going to have a different way of going about it because now they have crowdfunding. Now they can get on digital platforms and maybe attract funders who are not bankers, but maybe through different average users. That's a game changer, right? That's something that we delve into is in each of these segments, how is that transforming? We have these different aspects to our program. We are not just international and saying, and I'll show you, we are very diverse, not only in the student body, but the faculty body too. But it's not just the, the appearances of the UN, right? It's also the content. We're going to be talking about cases from Brazil to India to Indonesia you cannot have a Facebook and say, oh, Facebook is an American company, so it's about American audiences. No. The top Facebook users are in Brazil, India, South Africa. You cannot think nowadays in a non-global context. That is business today, right? So we also balance theory and practice. Because we also understand that, there's one thing is knowing and doing deep research, but we're constantly putting you in touch with practitioners, whether it's from the UN, whether it's from companies like, a variety of companies like Greenpeace, Shell, etc. You want to know what they're saying, NS, NL, so the state, different stakeholders, right? So we also allow you to then focus yourself and your channel because it's a one-year program. So you have to be smart and channel and say, okay, this is my area that I want to go deep into, and we really help you customize your interests. And I will show about, and definitely the personal touch. I guess you'll hear from the students, maybe too much because you get to see us a lot and we work with you very closely. But this is part of it's a small, intimate program, and we really believe we are partners in this research process. Because none of it is, it's not like we know the answers, but we're going to work through it because these research areas are constantly moving and they're very dynamic, right? So just what do I mean by diversity and international? We have 20 different nationalities in classroom, which makes for a fantastic conversation, right? So people bring in examples from Spain and Poland, and we have this vibrant conversation because no conversation can be the same everywhere. It's going to be very different. People are constantly questioning, saying, but in China, that's not the case. Actually, it's completely not possible. This is really our selling point, right? And we are, like I said, we are very diverse. We're from the US, France, India. I mean, name it, go through our profile. We are very, very, we're from Holland, we studied abroad. So it's really very, very diverse. So the idea that we bring our world to you and you bring your world to us, right? Anyway, so how does a study program look like? I mean, this is a very typical course load that you're going to have. So as you can see, initially you have some solid courses and you get electives, right? So there's some flexibility and some constants through it. But as it comes towards the tail end, you get to really focus and customize your interests on your passion. What is driving you? What do you want to do for the next 5 years, 10 years, or channel it in the next, basically how do you want to mobilize yourself? So this allows you to really take it step by step until you reach your master's thesis, right? And you have these two selections. So you have international business, and these are not hard and fast dimensions. This is a guideline. So you're saying, well, I'm really interested in business models and in global business models, right? And so this would be really for you because you're about corporate management, communication, how social media is used between customers and companies. It's very fitting how are business models transforming in today's day and age because of the onset of digital media. And the media industries. How's television? How's radio? How is advertising? All these different media industries radically transforming, right? Is journalism dead today, or has it gained a new life through podcasting and through other Twitter, right? So do we need to redefine the old media industries? Smart TVs, what do we mean by that, right? So you have these two dimensions, and this is really meant to shape you and channel your interests in a direction. So that is basically Vidhi's I guess that'll be you now, right? All right, so before we continue, I just want you can get a sample of what the kind of course looks like. So Vidhi is one of our professors, and she's going to tell you a little bit about one of the courses we teach, so you can kind of get a flavor of what it is. All right?
Thanks, Payal. All right, hi everyone, good evening. My name is Vidhi Chaudhary. I'm an assistant professor in the program, and I offer an elective course in the first term called Corporate Management with New Media. This would fit nicely with those of you that are interested in the international business track, but as Payal said, those are not hard and fast divisions. So what do we do in corporate management with new media? Payal's already given you a sense of how the business and communication landscape is changing now with new media tools. I mean, think about your own media practices. How many of you here are on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, Pinterest? Maybe I should ask how many of you are not. Right? That would be a more pertinent question. But even though new media and social media are changing the dynamics of interpersonal relationships, right? We can't assume that the same changes are happening at the level of organizations or between organizations and their consumers and their stakeholders, including employees, the media, NGOs, government, and so on. So the ease that we have as individuals with new and social media doesn't automatically translate to the organizational level. Organizations are still very concerned about how best to use Facebook and Twitter, because in this very uncertain and uncontrolled landscape, they encounter a number of risks. So before I introduce a little bit about, well, you can read on the slides as well, but let me give you a little scenario. Maybe some of you are already familiar with this. Now, in 2009, one of a famous US pizza chain, Domino's, had a little bit of a situation where their senior leaders were away for Easter weekend, and they were informed by a consumer magazine saying that a few of your employees made a rather questionable video and posted it to YouTube. And what were they doing in that questionable video? Well, messing with the food. I do not want to describe, so just let your imagination run a little bit wild about how messing with your food could look like. But okay, let me give you an example. Well, picking their nose and basically incorporating let's say whatever they were incorporating in the food. We'll leave it at that, okay? And doing other nasty things to food that they claimed would be delivered to the consumer. Now, Domino's, as a food company, you can imagine for them this was a big issue, a big crisis, because food is their business. They were alerted to this by Consumerist magazine, Initially, they thought that, oh, this would all go away because it's just two employees and a franchisee, a little prank, a hoax, nothing would happen. But within 48 hours, that video had 1 million views. Now, if you were Domino's, how would you respond? This is one of the approaches that we take in our courses. So relying a lot on cases like this that really allow us to appreciate how the dynamics of corporate communication and corporate management are changing in the new media landscape, but also putting you in the shoes of the decision maker to assess how you would address these situations. I'm not going to go into details of what happened just yet, but to come back to what this course does in corporate management with new media, we look at the landscape of corporate communication and the many practices that are part of this field of work, field of practice, and field of study, including stakeholder relations, whether with consumers or employees, social change and advocacy that specifically focuses on how NGOs and advocacy groups are using social media to influence change in business practice. For instance, Greenpeace has been campaigning against Shell for its plans to drill in the Arctic. Perhaps you are very familiar with that, especially in the Dutch context. Crisis communication, because if there's anything permanent in the life of an organization, it is a crisis. But crises have become increasingly unpredictable, and their source and their scope and their magnitude has changed with social media. Employee relations. Employees are an important stakeholder group, but how is the relationship between employees and the organization changing with the advent of social media? And how does this all impact this field of reputation management? Reputation becomes a core concern. Reputations become increasingly fragile. And even if it's a hoax, such as it was in the case of Domino's, it requires organizations to engage in reputation management and reputation repair, because after all, reputation is the most valuable, intangible asset that an organization has. So in this course, we review all the changes that are taking place in the field of strategic communication, corporate management, where we review the opportunities, challenges, the strengths of different new media platforms for corporate communication with an eye towards reputation management at all points in time. And we reflect on their practical and business implications in addition to their conceptual significance. We do this via a lot of case studies, such as the Domino's case that I just mentioned, reliance on class discussion, because it is a master's class, so it's not about lecturing, but it's about sharing ideas and collective knowledge building. And as Payal mentioned, a lot of guest lecturers. We have practitioners who are very senior in companies such as KLM, Unilever, ING, companies that are doing very well in the space of social media and have attained certain maturity when it comes to using social media for reputation purposes. Now, are you curious what happened with the Domino's case? Did anybody hear about this before? I know some people did, right? So, well, the interesting thing is, as the two employees mentioned, it was a hoax. When the company management learned about it, they decided to deliver a full-fledged apology coming from the global CEO of Domino's. Even though it was a prank, they took it seriously enough to deliver a global apology, because they realized that this was enough to put a seed of doubt in the minds of their consumers, that this could happen with their food. What is also interesting is this was the first time that a YouTube video, a hoax, became a full-fledged crisis for an organization, but also the first time that the organization decided to respond to this hoax on the same platform as the source of the video. So a lot of firsts with this case. And here's the irony when it comes to social media and the changing environment, which is always on and real time and digital. This case happened just 1 week before Domino's was about to roll out its full-fledged integrated digital strategy. So they had planned it all, they were planning to enter the digital space, and this really upset their plans completely. So that really only highlights the unpredictability of the communication landscape in which businesses operate today. And I think I just want to end with a nice quote from Domino's. This is a statement that they issued after the crisis, which nicely encapsulates the challenges and opportunities available for businesses. And I quote, "The opportunities and freedom of the internet are wonderful, but it also comes with the risk of anyone with a camera and an internet link to cause a lot of damage, as in this case where a couple of individuals suddenly overshadow the hard work performed by the men and women working for Domino's across the nation and in 60 countries around the world." So to wrap up then, this course, Corporate Management with New Media, really looks at how organizations need to prepare for this highly volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous environment. And through a mix of conceptual and practical discussions, cases, and guest lectures, we help students in this course to make sense of what it means to lead in an uncertain world. So that was about corporate management with new media. We head back to Payal now for a few more details on the program.
So say this is something that you're interested in doing and you want to know how much freedom do you guys have, because maybe some of the topics resonated with you, maybe some others didn't, and that's the idea, is for you to discover yourself and your interests. And we do allow for quite a bit of customization. And what does that mean? Is that you do get to choose in the term 1 and 2, right? There are some elective courses, which, as I told you earlier, there are 2 tracks, the international business and the media studies track. So they're courses that enable you to go into that track better and deeper, right? So you can get to select that, as well as in terms of methodology. Maybe you're, this is, and the way you approach it. So there's more freedom in terms of the workshop, and obviously your thesis topic. That is really the heart of customizing it, because you are becoming the expert in this area. I mean, this is what's exciting, as you've heard Vidhi, is that none of this is resolved. I mean, people are going by the fly, right? And your thesis is going to be contributing to a gap that is tremendously large in this field. And that's part of the reason why we have this program, is because there's such a huge gap in understanding know-how to guide companies, because they are really reactive. I mean, some part of companies are like, well, we don't want to be reactive. We want to be responsive. We want to be reflective. We want to be a little ahead of the game. How are you going to be ahead of the game? Is thanks to people like you guys who'd be shaping the thesis based on what the gaps are. So what are the choices? If you want, now here are some new additions from in the last few years, is that we have an exchange possibility with a 1.5-year track. So conventionally it's a year program. But if you want to have an exchange and go abroad, you can do that. And it can be a 1.5-year track, right? The other is, yes, you can do an internship, but in the next year thesis. So you could even combine it, right? You can make it a case study, and of course you work closely with a supervisor who will help you. So that could be very exciting and really pushes you to really representing theory and practice in a good way. So there is an honors project, and we have the PR company Cooper. Is very committed to working with you guys. So there are a selective group who works with this company and really goes deep into live projects, right? And comes out with a culmination working with the company very closely at hand. So, and the last is Hilversum Media Campus, and that's again for the media industries track, which is, people who are really interested in that area, which, as you know, for those who are Dutch, is a very vibrant center for media industries, and this really gives you insight into that, right? So, as actually already Vidhi's talked about, we have a number of guest lecturers, projects. The idea is, monthly field trips. I mean, the idea is to really put you guys out there and bring the world to you. It's really not a theoretical program only. It is constantly you going deep and applying it to the real world, real examples, real cases, okay? These are some of the examples of the kinds of theses that were done last year. So you have on branding, product recall, sort of hacking the city, the reassembling of cities using mobile phones, crisis communication, CSR, corporate social responsibility. So a very wide variety, right? And of course, you get to dress up and you get to click you in these compromising photos and then share it next year with some random group. So, So what happens upon graduation? These are the different areas our alumni have gone into. So if you want to see, oh, what's my job prospects, marketing and advertising, as you can see, management consulting, policy, you know, this info, IT and communication and PR. So really, this is, if this sort of resonates with you, this could be a very appropriate program. I mean, you know, of course there are others, some have gone into being an entrepreneur, startup companies, so it's really quite a wide variety, yeah? So again, now application deadline is 15th April, really important to keep it for non-EEA students, and 15th May for those who are the EEA students. And so please take note of these deadlines. It's also on our website, so no worries. And there are 75 students who will be accepted. We require a personal motivation letter. You know, of course, we want to know you're passionate about this. It really matters because it's so intense that you really have to be driven for this. A good academic record, but this should give you a kind of overview of what is required, right? English proficiency, it is all in English, so you do need a good command of it. And some basic, because you do require methodology to do your thesis. It's not an abstract. You're actually collecting data, right? You're not coming up with theories from thin air. So, but think about this is not a typical business program. Like I said, our forte is really about specializing and leveraging and going deep in this area of media. So it's not a sideline to a business or sort of a kind of a business program, okay? So this is something that will create a sort of good specialization and allow you guys to move in with a certain kind of expertise given in such a short time.